It's time for the main event. It's the Shoeshine.
All right. Let's take two. Did you miss us? You know what it is. It's the Shoeshine. All right. I'm your host, Dave from the 408. You know what time it is. It's that time of the night where we get together to sit around, friends from around the globe, and talk about the sweet science. All right. Joining me is my co-host, all the way from the city of brotherly love, Mr. Drew Evo, Philly Irish. What's up?
What's up, everybody? Can you hear me?
All right, I'm checking with my engineer. Can we hear Mr. Drew Evo? All right, it looks like it's a go. All right, thank you everyone for joining us again. If we lost you, we're starting the live stream again. Quick shout out to the family, the Leave It in the Ring radio crew, David Duenas, Emil Carr. They just did their show. I'll be available on the podcast network on iTunes or wherever you get your streaming and download podcasts from. Drew, it was a hell of a weekend. Thank you, A-Rod 83 Book Sale, one of the homies, family member here, for letting us know that Drew is good and he is on here. But Drew, I was just trying to say, DAZN hit it out of the park because there was a bunch of good fights, but it even started on Thursday night because I was really excited with that Ring City USA. And I'll get to that one in a moment. But Drew, your thoughts on the weekend, because there was a lot of good fights.
First of all, I want to thank 8 pound 1 ounce Jesus for people being able to hear me now. And that women's fight was really good. Even though it was more one-sided, in my opinion, because the girl has some lightning speed hands and she has power, so thank God for that.
You're talking about Seneisa Estrada, who came down in weight to take Annabelle Ortiz from Mexico City's 105-pound championship. And Drew, I was really concerned that fight was not going to live up to the hype or any hype. I had low expectations for that. And now I know Seneisa Estrada is a phenomenal athlete. But the fight that preceded it, the two Lopez versus Lopez, the Argentinian and the replacement Mexican fighter, that fight was blowing my mind. And I was talking with everybody online saying, if the guy from Mexico could just knock down the Argentinian monster, Marcelino Lopez, we could have a potential fight of the year candidate. And I was thinking, there's no way the ladies could top what those two guys just did. But it was just as good. And it was just a small taste of all the fights this weekend, because let's start with Ring City USA. Now, Drew, you've heard me yapping about Ring City USA. Last week we were saying it reminds me of ESPN Friday night fights. You know, I used to be a big fan of Friday night ESPN fights because you didn't know what you were going to get. You could be looking at a future world champion, or you could be finding out that this top prospect was really all hype. You didn't know what you were going to get from that. They were always really evenly matched competitive fights. And to some extent, Showtime still does a really good job with their show, the upcoming series, the Show Fighter series on Wednesday nights they moved it to. They're still doing a good job, but Ring City USA is kind of nailing it because that main event featured a guy who was a replacement fighter from Tijuana. And it looks like he was trained by El Terrible Morales, a Hall of Fame boxer. And he came in as a last-minute replacement to fight someone that a lot of people already know is Machado. And this Mexican kid from TJ I was just talking about, Fierro, came in, and it looked like it was going to be a really bad night for the replacement fighter. Machado found success right away with this left-right hook combination and dropped them flush, right? Sean Porter was saying, oh, no, it's just a flash knockdown. It did look like a flash knockdown. It was round one, but the same thing happened in round two. And Drew, if you didn't catch what happened, this guy mounts the most epic comeback. You know he's down on the scorecards big because he's down 10-8 rounds. The comeback. And Machado once was a contender, right? He's fought on big networks. The guy, the last-minute replacement, finishes him off in the 6th round, Drew. How good does it feel to be a replacement fighter on a big televised fight and upset the guy? You were supposed to showcase Machado. Maybe Machado would get back on an ESPN Top Rank card fight or something, Spoils it for him, Drew. What do you think of that?
Just like the situation with Ruiz versus Joshua.
Ruiz versus
replacement
Joshua.
fighter.
Yeah, exactly. Because Andy Ruiz was definitely not supposed to win that fight. But I ended up seeing that on one of the boxing websites that El Terrible Morales said, do not be surprised if he, drops Machado. And Machado's been down several times in his career. He had already had 2 losses and was looking to revive his career. And it looked like that's how things were going. But inevitably, the guy, the replacement fighter, Fierro, practically tears in his eyes when he came from behind and rallied back. It was an amazing fight, and I continue to look forward to what Ring City USA is going to be putting together, because this week, the Serranos, you know them, the Puerto Rican sisters, I think she's headlining Thursday night's fight. So the ladies have been really doing well in boxing. We had McCaskill recently and Breakhouse. This weekend featured a co-star main event, and then on Thursday night, you're going to get to see the Serranos back in the ring, headlining that Puerto Rican card on Thursday on Ring City. So I'm stoked about that. If anyone is out there and would like to chime in or call in, you can always participate in the chat, or you can even call us at 702-710-3627. Would be more than happy to hear you guys call in. But Drew, before we get to the DAZN card, are you still high on Arthur Beterbeiv? Because ESPN did a little something earlier in the day. The 175-pound light heavyweight champion. Some people say he's definitely got what it takes to beat up Canelo Alvarez. Did you get to see the highlights of Arthur Beterbeiv's return to the ring?
Actually, I saw the whole fight on YouTube. And if nobody thinks this guy is ready for Canelo Alvarez or can beat Canelo Alvarez, you got your mind. Because tell you the truth, he does one thing good that a lot of other guys don't do. He's a guy that goes to the body. And the strategy you will need to do to Canelo, if he moves up to 175, is to break him down, is to go to the body, which stops the movement, and then go for the kill with Canelo. That's if you're gonna be off of Beterbiev. And guys a lot of guys mainly go and headhunt Canelo. You gotta mix it up. And this guy mixes it up and everything. He's a punishment machine and everything. And like when Rosso said when they took the fight with Kovalev, they said they took the fight with Kovalev because they believe he was the best fighter in the division. How can you say that a 36, 37-year-old already been stopped, washed up Sergey Kovalev is the best fighter in the division, where you got Demetrius Bivol off of Beterbiev, Grosdick in my opinion was better than Sergey Kovalev still, and like Joe Smith Jr. could be probably right now better than Sergey Kovalev. Kovalev is on his last limb here. If you talk about career, and this is why. And it brings up when on the roundtable where they were talking about Tyson, or he faced guys that were at the end of their careers and everything. But people don't bring up Canelo did the same thing. He fought guys at the end of the career. Sergey Kovalev's at the end of his career, and he fought him.
As much as people are salivating at the idea of Canelo moving back up to 175, there was a few things that concerned me watching the fight back a second time. One was that Arthur Beterbiev looked like he had some ring rust, which was okay. And the second was it looked like he just lost a little bit of a step in his hand speed. He clearly hits with bad intentions, power in both hands. But then I thought, you know what? Triple G had a lot of success still, especially in the first fight against Canelo. And he's not particularly the fastest guy. But really, do you think that Canelo is going to vacate 168 and go and take on a challenge like Arthur Beterbiev when already today I'm reading that Joe Smith Jr., who's going to be fighting, Joe Smith Jr., the blue-collar guy that we all love, the union guy, he'll be fighting. And if he wins his fight, the one that was postponed for COVID, then they're going to unify 3 belts. And that looks really, really tempting to Canelo because we know that Canelo's got to make up crazy challenges. That might be really enticing if Arthur Beterbiev ends up with 3 belts. And we know that he had success cherry-picking a bit Kovalev. But does he look like he has the goods to beat Canelo at 175? Because I'll say this, if Canelo asks for a catch weight of 170 or something to give him a slight bit of an advantage. It's still a super dangerous fight. And we know Mayweather asks for catch weights all the time. Manny Pacquiao's asked for catch weights. Those guys are the cash cows, were the cash cows. Now it's Canelo. Could it be a problem for Arthur Beterbiev that he's not?
Well, if you look at it like this, and this is a thing that I never understood why Mauricio Sumu allowed this when Canelo Alvarez was middleweight champion, WBC middleweight champion, was to defend the belt at catch weights instead of the 160 limit, as it should be. He became the king of catch weights, in my opinion.
The king of catch. Let me give a shout out to D-Style Boxing, Joe Sports, Andre Rodriguez, A-Rod 83 Boxeo says Canelo vacated the belt and has no intentions of moving back up, but let's see how Zurdo Ramirez and Beterbiev plays out. Now, Zurdo just signed with Golden Boy. Is that a wrench?
Now, Ramirez is going to be a difficult fight for anybody because he's a slick boxer. He's not the normal Mexican fighter as you're used to seeing and everything. He's a slick boxer, so he can cause problems for Beterbiev, but Ramirez hasn't really been tested in the chin. Like, his best fight is against 2 fights with Jesse Hart.
So, over at Top Rank, in his Top Rank days.
Philly's Jesse Hart. And the thing is, Ramirez can cause problems, but I doubt the fight gets made anytime soon. I think the most ideal fight is to have a unification belt, whoever wins that WBO fight. But at the end of the day, the question will be if Canelo, you have to, it's an if Canelo unifies 168, because it can all go down May 8th. It can all go away of talks of him unifying 168.
Of course, you're talking about May 8th. The date has been announced. A location for the fight. To me, it's no shock. Texas actually is going to be holding that fight. So the fight will not be in Las Vegas. Johnny Reyes, what's up? And Johnny Reyes in the chat was very excited at the idea of going to see a Canelo Alvarez fight for his first time in Las Vegas. It will not be in Las Vegas. And you're bringing up this unification. He's got his hands full for sure. But everyone right now wants to talk about is Virgil Ortiz ready for Bud Crawford. But people also want to know is if Canelo Alvarez is ready for Arthur Beterbiev, or if Arthur Beterbiev is ready for Canelo. I'm going to just go out there and say that as much as I want to see Canelo go back up to 175, you're right, he's got his hands full. There's still a lot of questions at 168. Drew's going to get off for a quick second. But to me, there's a ton of questions unanswered still at 168 pounds for Canelo Alvarez. He could very well end up unifying all the titles by the end of this year. And if guys from 175 pounds want to meet him halfway or at a catch weight, there's some really enticing things. We know that Canelo did make easy work of Kovalev after a few rounds, so it really all depends. So let me say hello to everyone that's joining us. Bella Bling, Alexis Lopez, Johnny Reyes just came in the room. So what does the chat think? You think Canelo should even entertain a fight with Arthur Beterbiev, or just go ahead and do his own thing at 168 pounds? Of course, there's so many names there. He's got BJ Saunders. You've got Boo Boo Andrade, who still works under Eddie Hearn. It's a possible fight at DAZN. Then you've got the PBC guys. Of course, David Benavidez wants his crack at the 168-pound belt that he lost on the scale. He wants a shot back at that as soon as possible. He just fought a week ago. Caleb Plant may get the fight before all of those guys in September. He may be the September fight. So a lot of questions still remain to be answered as I wait here for my co-host to return, Philly Irish. The phone number is available here. I think the phone line is working. It's 702-710-3627. And I'm a little bit disheartened that Canelo will not be making that fight in Las Vegas, but I'm also very excited at the prospect that they will have a live crowd at Jose Ramirez versus Josh Taylor at the MGM Grand. It looks like that fight's going to happen. It's definitely been set for Top Rank. And we do have a caller, so let's take this call at 951 and cross my fingers. My phone line is working. 951, you are on the Shoeshine. 951, you're on the Shoeshine.
Órale pues, ¿qué pasa? This is Johnny Savage, the Latin lover. Hey man, what's going on?
Yo,
what's up, guys?
Yo, Johnny, it sounds like you've been drinking all weekend. Johnny Savage, one of my good friends and also a very casual boxing fan. You were named a casual fan.
Casual? I'm not casual. I'm diehard, man. I'm diehard.
Okay, you're diehard now.
Drew, casual. Drew casual.
Dude, are you drinking and driving? Because what's up? You sounds like you're in the car vehicle right now.
No, I'm actually I'm about to watch a movie, to relax myself. I mean.
All right. So what do you want to say, Johnny? What do you want to call in and say?
No, man, hey, Canelo, man. I mean, he's trying to like, he should do what he does. I mean, he should kind of like, make people happy to fight a certain person that they don't want to fight him. I mean, where he wants to go fight at, and I think that Canelo should just like stick in his weight. You know what I mean?
Okay, so 2 points. You say he should stay at 168 pounds, clean out division, and also you appreciate that he's bringing the fight to the fans wherever that may be, if it's in Texas or Las Vegas. I know that we're dying to go see a fight in Las Vegas. Or Mexico, or Guadalajara, or Mexico City is another great options. Johnny, but the fact that you're in Southern California, you haven't dealt very well with the closures of the bars, of course, the bars Johnny likes to drink, and doing social. So Are you a little bit upset that Las Vegas did lose that fight because Texas is ready to open up all sporting events? Are you a little bit upset?
Yeah, Texas. I am upset, dude, because Texas, it's a whole new thing. It's all politics for Texas, man. I mean, they went through the flooding, the power went out and the snow and stuff, and they want to get back with the government. And supposedly they don't go by the government's laws or the laws over there. And then now they want to take Vegas. Vegas is they're fucking take their money. You know what I mean? Because boxing is coming up again. I mean, it's coming back. A lot of good fighters coming out. And it's kind of like, Vegas getting robbed, dude. I'd rather see a fight at Vegas than Texas. What can you do at Texas? I mean, what are they do in Texas? I mean, Vegas is like the prime spot of boxing. Vegas is boxing.
Yeah.
Vegas, you know what I mean?
I totally agree with you.
They're taking it away from Vegas.
I totally agree with you. Las Vegas should be the capital of boxing in the United States, but if they don't reopen and we don't get this vaccine under control, it could lose its place to places like Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth, that area, El Paso's doing it, and of course Florida. Johnny is a huge Jaguars fan. I don't know why. You should be a Raiders fan. But you are.
Jaguars too.
So Drew, Drew Evo, do you have anything to say to Johnny? Because I'm gonna move on with the show here in just a sec.
I keep fantasizing about Oscar and stockings and lingerie.
No, come on. I know you. Hey, so check it out, Johnny. I'm gonna let you go, but listen, we're gonna do another remix of the mariachi. Okay, so get ready for that. We got some big Mexican fights.
Yeah, ready. Anytime, man. Anytime for you, bro. Anytime.
And
you discovered me. You discovered me, bro.
I assume you're working on your fitness.
Wild Card Podcast, remember?
Yeah. I assume you're working on your fitness. We'll be going to Vegas at the end of May, so it's time to get in shape, right?
Yeah, man. You gotta get in shape, bro. We gotta work on our bodies. We gotta work on my bodies and RPMs. Get the RPMs going. For the bedroom, Vegas is known for boom boom, and you go to Vegas. What do you go to Vegas for with your partner?
All right.
You go boom boom, right?
Yeah, most definitely. Johnny Savage, everybody.
Right, Drew?
Hey, Johnny, thanks for calling the show, man. I'll talk to you later this afternoon. I'll talk to you later this evening, man.
Hey,
Take care.
hey, my friend Leroy wants to call in. He wants to call in.
Oh, yeah, have him call in. All right, later.
All right. Hey.
Okay, the phone line works. So we know that. We went a little long because he really didn't have a point to say, but we know the phone line works. So, Drew, we had this really interesting comment by Andre Rodriguez. Again, he says, I would like to watch Bivol and Beterbeiv and Canelo trying to get undisputed at the 168. No one ever unified all the belts at 168, so I think that's a target for Canelo. So going back to that, your final thoughts on Beterbeiv and the light heavyweight division. Are Canelo fans just dreaming that he'll go up there, or are they haters?
I don't think he's going back up. If he goes back, he knows he goes back up. He's not beating those monsters up there.
Yeah,
those guys are monsters compared to the 168.
Well, I think there's some guys and some very interesting fights to make at light heavyweight, but he's got his hands full for the rest of this year, 2021. So you want to take another call while we're at it? We got the phone lines open. Let's take 915. Hey, 915, you're on the Shoeshine.
What's going on? D-Style Boxing here. How's it going, guys?
Hey, D-Style, you sound great on the phone line. Thanks for calling D-Style of HCP. What's up, homie?
Down with HCP. I just wanted to kind of get some clarification now. You know, like is Drew saying that Canelo is the king of the catchweights? Is that what he's saying?
Okay,
Did I hear that right?
I was interrupting
my
him.
ears wax clean.
You heard right, because if you saw his reign at 160, you saw most of those title defenses were at catch weight.
So are you alluding to the one when he was hanging out at 155 for a while? When he had a series of fights at 155? Which would make him a middleweight. But you know, D-Styles, what I remember about that era was that the guy pushing that was Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar kept saying he's not a real middleweight. And he kept saying he wasn't a real middleweight. But suddenly, Canelo goes, not only does he do fantastic at 160 against Triple G, whichever way you had it, but against other middleweights at 160. So was Oscar holding Canelo back? Was it Oscar's doing?
Oh, I just think it's like, first of all, I've never been a fan of catchweights. I just think it's my opinion. I think it's an exaggeration to say he's the king of the catchweights, and this is why. Look, he wasn't a catchweight against Mayweather, but I mean, let's be honest. It was really like, even though Mayweather was not accepting the fight up until the catchweight was offered, and that favored Mayweather as a guy coming up from 147, right? And then if you look at the even the Matthew Haddon fight, I mean, Matthew Haddon was the guy that was moving up from 147 to fight Canelo. Catchweights favored the little guy, not the bigger guy, right? If you go to middleweight, Cotto was fighting all his fights at catchweights, like at middleweight. And that's just the truth. Cotto himself was saying he was not a real middleweight. He had Martinez fight at a catchweight, so I think the catchweight was more so of a Cotto thing, if not a mutual agreement between both those guys. And then he fought Khan at a catchweight, but let's be honest. I mean, that did favor Khan. Like, what? It's not to Canelo's favor to make it 160 against Amir Khan, a guy moving up. And by the way, I don't even like the Khan fight. I never did. But what I'm saying is, the catchweight made it a little more fair for the little guy, in this case, Khan. But outside of that, I think maybe the first Triple G fight was a catchweight, but after that, he hasn't done a catchweight since. So when you really look at it and you break it down, the question would be, how many times did Canelo request a catchweight so it could specifically favor him? Of all the ones I mentioned, and I don't even remember if the first Triple G fight had a catchweight, to be honest, but let's say it did, that's probably the only fight ever, in all honesty.
Great point. Drew, do you think catchweights and people who've used them effectively, you're saying you're not also D-Styles is saying that he's not a fan of them, but do you think the guy who's on top of the division, who's the face of boxing, has the right to demand catchweights if he's the A side?
I don't even think there should be catch weights at all. But like, here's the issue. There were issues when Canelo fought at catch weights, but they also made a rehydration clause in the contract that this fighter, they can't be no more than like 5 pounds overweight, like 5 pounds past the middleweight limit. Let's say if they fought at 160 and they have a rehydration clause. You can't weigh no more than 165 the night of the fight and on the unofficial weigh-in. If you do, you have to give up a part of your purse or something, or they can reject the fight. He has had history of them having rehydration clauses in these contracts, and I really think that benefited Canelo because these other guys couldn't rehydrate to a normal middleweight after the weigh-in at the middleweights normally weigh like at least 170, between 170, maybe 173 at least after on the unofficial weigh-in. But it benefited Canelo because that other guy couldn't be strong, couldn't be the bigger man, couldn't like really be that much of a bigger man, and couldn't possibly generate power from the weight gang if he's used to having the power at that weight.
Mm-hmm. D-Style, I'm curious your thoughts. I know that on all the shows on the network, the great Leave It on the Ring radio network, we all have a degree of our opinions vary, but do you think it's all right for Canelo to ask for a catch weights for a super fight against some of the larger light heavyweights? I mean, to me, it doesn't offend me at all.
In a perfect world, I would love for boxing to have uniformity and like any other sport does, you know, like in tennis, you can't force that I know of. Like you can't force the guy you're playing to wear a certain type of shoe or like something like that's crazy. That sounds right. But I just feel like the reason I don't like catch weights is I like uniformity, but they're there and they exist. But just to be clear, like since like Canelo did not ask for a catch weight against Kovalev.
He didn't.
And from my understanding, and this interview was done on Leave It in the Ring, Kovalev's own trainer, Buddy McGirt, alluded to if there was a rehydration clause, we would not have accepted the Canelo fight. So I think we just have to, like, you know, kind of understand that. Canelo was weighing in the 170s along with Trout when they both fought. When they were on HBO, they would weigh in the day of the fight in the locker rooms. They were 1 pound apart. So if Canelo was weighing in the 170s when he was at junior middleweight, I have no clue why he would impose a rehydration clause at 165 against anybody. I would like to see that information. But to answer your question, do I have an issue with it? I honestly do have an issue with any fighter requesting special treatment simply because they're leveraging their you know, the position that they're in. But I also, even though I have an issue with it, all I could do is voice it. But I can tell you, man, that every fighter that's a big name has taken advantage of that. Like De La Hoya forced fighters to wear the type of gloves he wanted to wear, including Mayweather. He made him wear Cleto Reyes gloves, you know, 10 ounces, and Mayweather didn't want to wear that, right? Sugar Ray Leonard was able to impose 12 rounds instead of 15 against Hagler. You know, it's a lot. Like Chavez did impose the catch weight against Whitaker. And as time goes on, we all kind of forget these things, or they just become like irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, you know? So I want uniformity in the sport. I need to stay consistent about that. You know what I mean? But I live with the stars of the sports having the special privilege. Look, when I see Tom Brady play, you know, I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like the refs are quicker to throw that flag if you hit Tom Brady a little too hard compared to other quarterbacks. When I see LeBron James play, it seems like, if he flails, they're going to call the penalty or whatever, right? The foul. If Ronaldo is playing, like if he just touched his toe, like he's going to flail, and they're going to give you the card. It's the way it is. Stars get special treatment in sports. I don't like it, but that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm. So it's a real treat to have D Styles on our show, just even giving us a call today.
Sure.
And something happened over in the UFC this weekend that grabbed my attention because women's boxing is starting to get a lot of momentum, and we've covered it on the network quite a bit. And this weekend we had a great fight with Seneisa Estrada. But over at the UFC side, a woman passed out on the scale, and one of the fights had to be canceled. And that was trending on Twitter.
I saw that. Yeah.
She collapsed. So, and since we're talking about catch weight, I'm wondering what you guys' thoughts are. The UFC's weight, the divisions are really spread apart far more than in boxing. So the idea is started every time that happens that we see someone nearly collapse on a scale or a fight get called off. The idea of bringing back same day weight, making weight on the same day. Anybody here on this panel think we'll ever see that?
Well, let me just say this, like before I go, and I thank you guys for taking my call. Look, if the problem with the UFC is I think they have it right in the higher weight classes, but they got it all wrong once you go below their 155 or 50 class, whatever it is, for their lightweight division. It is dumb as hell to have divisions separated by the same amount of pounds south of that to north of that. So that's because it's all pertains to our, the percentage of the weight that everyone needs to cut. So every pound matters more the lower you go in weight class. It's just the way it is. That's why in boxing, even though I feel there's too many weight classes in boxing, overall, I could cut at least 3 or 4 divisions in total. And I think we cut it to just like 14, 15 divisions in total. But the problem is this, man, like if you can't make their 155-pound division, all of a sudden, like, if you can't compete there, whatever, so they start cutting weight, and they got to cut all the way to 145.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost like a middleweight going down to junior welterweight in boxing. Like that is crazy, and they're having to cut this crazy amount of weight. And I've been noticing this trend. They almost do it the opposite in the UFC. In boxing, guys start at a lower weight class and they start moving up over time as their body grows and as they get bigger and their man strength kicks in and muscle mass kicks in. In UFC, like I just remember like seeing like guys at one, they'll be a light heavyweight and all of a sudden they're a middleweight and we're like, whoa! All of a sudden they're going to one, to welterweight over there. Like it's crazy to me. But the solution would be this, okay? Do I feel that same-day weigh-in can resolve a lot of these problems? The answer is yes. Do I feel that it's a solution that will be explored? No, because the culture of combat sports has already accepted that these guys are going to weigh in 24 hours before. And to be honest with you, it's actually like 30-something hours before fight night. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're weighing in at noon, and the fight's the next day, like in the, at nighttime. So I just don't think it's going to happen, man. It's too many things would have to be reformed and changed in order for that to happen. But it's at least in boxing, one of the biggest reasons for death is mismatches and dehydration. Those are the two biggest, issues with boxing. And I think with MMA, you're seeing the weight cuts more and more now. And people want to get the size advantages and stuff like that. But that was scary to see. What's scarier is that happened. And then from what I understand, they still let her weigh in. and she still fought. So I don't know about that. I don't think anybody should be passing out in the middle of I don't think she passed out, but her body didn't respond and she fell down. Not a good look. But hey, man, thanks for having me on. I'll listen the rest of the way.
Hey, D-Style, I really appreciate you calling in. If there was one fight that you said was fight of the weekend, do you have one?
Oh, man. You know what? And it's not because it was competitive or anything. It's just that me personally, I was very, very impressed. And I've always been impressed with Seneisa Estrada, super bad. I think she had a hell of a performance. She beat a reigning champion, someone who defended her belt 6 times. And she went in there and just outclassed her. And I think her reflexes are there. And that's the most – it's just hard to see women with those reflexes, and she has them. And her ability to switch the way she does, the way she sets up the shots. Her shots are nice and straight down the pipe, but she also has some nice loopy shots she sets up. I was wondering why she had her left hand behind her back sometimes, but I noticed she was almost hiding it from her opponent, and she would flick a jab, and when the opponent was trying to catch the jab or move out of the way, she would then swing her left hand. I thought that was kind of clever. So, and I also think it was a pretty good fight. I thought the fight was pretty good. Yeah. And I'd like to put Virgil and Hooker over too, but I got to give, to me, the performance of the night and fight of the night for me will be the ladies, Seneisa Estrada.
Yeah, a fantastic fight. And if anybody wants to chat about that, our chat is open. D-Style, thank you so much. Are you down with HCP? Peace. Tomorrow night, HCP on YouTube.
That's right.
Thanks, D-Style. Thanks a lot, buddy. All right, everybody, that was D-Style's his YouTube channel, D-Style Boxing, Dragon Style Boxing tomorrow. A fantastic show, HCP. It's the best ratings you can get, and his co-host G Funky from Sacramento. Shout out to them. And they also do it on Wednesday nights, uncensored, the uncensored one where it gets really heated. A shout out to Me Truck Mike, my homie. Me Truck Mike is in the chat, and we have Lance Meyer. Hello to Lance Meyer. El Coto, Brooklyn is in the building. What's good, Brooklyn? Yeah. And excited to have people from New York in the room. So in the chat, if you guys want, while my co-host comes back, was there a fight of all the zone fights? You had Arthur Beterbeiv stop this guy. You had earlier in the day in the UK, we have a brand new cruiserweight champion. Are you guys interested in that fight? The DAZN main event was exciting as well. And my thoughts on what D-Style was saying, my wife, who's my best friend, watches the fights with me on weekends. She's a fight junkie too. She's not really a huge fan of watching the women box, and she was blown away by Seneisa Estrada's performance from a woman to a woman. She said, wow, because we had watched the last weekend's fights between McCaskill and Breakhouse, and she said that it looked kind of, for her, it looked kind of sloppy, It didn't look so technical, but when she saw what Seneisa Estrada and she heard Seneisa Estrada's backstory, she was mad impressed. She was mad impressed with the storyline. Drew, we're just talking about Seneisa Estrada because you're raving about that fight too. Does Clarissa Shields, now she's not winning the popularity contest. Clarissa Shields, she thinks she's the best boxer in all the sport of boxing. But I was just saying, my wife can't get over Seneisa Estrada's performance. She says she fights like the guys we just saw fight the week before. We saw Chocolatito and Estrada too. She's like, wow, this girl boxes like one of these flyweight guys.
Well, first of all, I had to make sure my nephew didn't burn the cookies
or
burn the house down.
Did he burn the cookies?
No, he didn't. Thank God for that. But I was more concerned about the house. But the only problem, they were even saying it too, that she lacks jabbing. And I think she could have got that girl, Annabelle Ortiz, out of there if she would have just set up more with the jab.
But she was having fun, right? And we also can't take away the fact that Seneisa Estrada, she knocked out her prior opponent in 7 seconds flat. Prior to this, Annabelle Ortiz, a champion for 7 years at 105 pounds. the look in Annabelle Ortiz's eye when she got dropped, it was like a glaze, like, survival time. And they put on a great performance. She didn't get knocked out, but what about that? What about the fact that it was only 2 minutes? Would Seneisa Estrada possibly have finished her if they were going 3 minutes like men do?
You can say that, but at the same time, you can also put that it was a lack of like strategy with punches and everything, because a jab, if setting up with the jab, can really give her a punch that she doesn't see coming. And that's what the jab's supposed to do. You're setting up your jab, and you're setting up, and you normally you can throw, like I said, if you're a southpaw, you're gonna throw that left hook, or white orthodox, you're gonna throw that right hook when you set with the jab, or set with 2 jabs. It opens up to a punch, to an opportunity to throw a punch that they're not gonna see coming, and they're the ones that's gonna hurt the most. Especially the way she is punching. If she would have jabbed a lot more and set up, I think she would have got her out of there regardless if there was 2-minute rounds or not.
Okay. All right. Well, I just had a feeling if any of those rounds if they were going 3 rounds, she would have absolutely have finished this champion Annabelle Ortiz with a technical knockout or something of the like. I was really impressed with Seneisa Estrada. I already know that she's fantastic, but the fact that she did a co-main and impressed other people, and maybe she's going to attract more women into the sport. It was just a fantastic job. Let me give a quick shout out to Yono. Raw Boxing brought me here. Raw Boxing Ranger is the homie. We thank him all the time. Of course, he does great live commentary on Saturday nights when he has a chance, and he's just does a great show on his own. So thank you, Yono. Also, because you're from the Bay Area like me, man. Thank you. We're glad to have you here tonight, Yono. Also, we got this comment here. Andre Rodriguez, orthodox, southpaw, orthodox again. 5-punch combinations, go inside, get out. And I think he's referencing to Seneisa Estrada about, she's just technically gifted. But Drew, let's move on to what everybody wants to talk about, because time is running out on us. And that's, of course, Virgil Ortiz, the headliner against Hooker, the former 140-pound champ who had been priorly knocked out by Jose Ramirez and lost his strap. A former champion, the biggest test of Virgil Ortiz's career. Did he pass with flying colors?
Yes and no.
And I'm definitely want to get to the no. Let's get to the no, because everyone is still debating.
Because he exposed some defensive issues with Virgil Ortiz. And that's the no right there. He exposed defensive issues. The yes is he got him out of there and did something to that dude's wrist, but at the same time, no, because he exposed Virgil Ortiz's defensive issues and could be a liability for future fights as he moves up in competition. But it's a win. He won against a quality opponent. It didn't take him past 7 rounds, but he did show some problems with his defense.
Listen,
And
Errol Spence was in the house. Errol Spence was there. Bud
Terrence
Crawford
too.
Terrence Crawford was right there ringside, interviewed by DAZN, and we know that Terrence Crawford has got promotional issues with Top Rank, and everyone wants to know. And Oscar's on social media saying, "Come on, have your boy call me, have Bob Arum call me." We know Oscar thinks that Virgil Ortiz is ready, but Hooker gave him some fantastic rounds. In fact, actually, people could debate me, but I thought Ortiz lost round 1, a very close round 1, and round 4. So when the tables turned in round 5 and Hooker continued with that same strategy in the toe-to-toe action, not using his long jab, not using his reach, his height, everything went south for him. And it ended very much like when he got knocked out against Jose Ramirez. But you're bringing up a good point. I didn't like how much Ortiz was getting tagged, because there was...
Like he's getting counted.
His face at the post-fight interview showed a lot of swelling. He absolutely got nailed by Hooker. And Hooker is a former champ at 140 pounds. So are you telling me that you're concerned if somebody with some serious power another 140. I don't know if there's guys that hit as hard as Virgil Ortiz either. And I only want to see him against two guys, either Errol Spence or Bud Crawford. But are they biting off more they can chew by calling out Bud Crawford next?
Yes. And I'm gonna and they don't really have to have superior power to Virgil Ortiz to knock him out or to hurt him. The thing is, if they counter him enough that he doesn't see coming, it's gonna begin to show and to rail him out, because these guys are gonna be moving a lot more. They're gonna be countering him a lot more. They're gonna be able to apply more pressure to Virgil that makes him go out of his comfort zone. And I don't think Virgil Ortiz is ready for these guys. I really think if he fights one of them's going to stop him.
I see G Funky's in the room. Also, HCP. G Funky, what's up? He says, I didn't see any problems with Ortiz's defense. This is boxing. You're going to get hit. Now, I saw that on social media because it seems to be that criticism was going to come for Virgil Ortiz. I personally saw him getting tagged up a lot too. And it does concern me, but it doesn't concern me overwhelmingly that I don't think Virgil Ortiz is going to be a future champ. I'm convinced he's going to be a future welterweight champ. But do we want him to go the route of Bud Crawford immediately, like his next fight? Or does he need a little bit more seasoning? Does he need one more or two more step-up fights against some quality opponents?
To reply to that comment, yeah, boxing is a sport you're going to get hit in, but it's also a sport that the guy that takes the least amount of hits mostly survives the end of the night. And it's deep. And like, if you're saying like you're going to get hit, then you're saying boxing's not defense isn't really needed for boxing, in my opinion, because in that fight, if you saw him, his defense is problems because he wasn't moving enough at times, bobbing his head enough at times, and he got caught when he threw a punch countering. If he fought Terence Crawford or Spence, he gets caught enough with a counter and gets easily caught with jabs and leads to big punches, he's going down. I don't care if anybody thinks this guy has a chin. This guy has a chin. This guy so far shows he has a chin. But once he gets up to that big line of competitions, it's a whole different ball game. He's getting ready to go. He's going to go down to deep waters, or he's going to get knocked out before he hits the round he had never been past. But that's how it is. He's not ready for Terence Crawford yet. He's not ready for Errol Spence yet. He needs two more fights that at least are going to get him past round 7. Guys that will at least he'll be able to work on his defensive issues against. Because the way that he fought Hooker, he can't fight like that against Terence Crawford or Spence. That boy's going to get killed.
Well, I'm going to disagree strongly on get killed.
Get killed like he might lose an easy 12-round decision.
Well, the decision thing may be a possibility. G Funky, if you want to call in, man, I would love to have your opinion on this. And Santiago Medio, shout out to Santiago Medio. I'm going to put his comment up here. His dad said he would like to have one more fight before Bud. Virgil Sr. has announced that. So I'm not hating on that. I think that's fantastic. I think he will do very well against Bud Crawford. I don't know if Bud Crawford's not going to find a solution for Virgil, because I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I think Virgil Ortiz will make much more easier work of Spence, because Bud Crawford has demonstrated time and again, that by switching sides and being, ambidextrous, being able to fight from the left hand and the right hand equally with power in both hands, that I think he may have some solution for Virgil Ortiz. But Errol Spence, he's very similar in style of fighter as Virgil Ortiz. And Virgil Ortiz can break through people's gloves, which he's shown time and time again that his power breaks through gloves. He's fundamentally very sound. but I don't think they need to rush him. I'm glad to hear what Santiago Medio is saying, that they want to see him take another fight, at least one fight, before he gets these big fights. Again, Bud Crawford's contract is up in October. The fact that he was at the DAZN fight, speaking and being interviewed with them, that says a lot to me. We know what Bob Arum has said. He's not out there advocating for Bud Crawford. He's not getting him the big fights Bud wants on his own. And if Bud's got to go out and get a fight by putting himself ringside, I think Bud's doing a great thing. And I would very much like to see this fight between him and Virgil, just not now. I mean, Virgil's really entertaining. He's doing his thing. All knockouts.
You know a fight I would want to see Virgil take? And they said it on DAZN. Him against the Mean Machine.
Other people have brought up the Mean Machine. Mean Machine did drop. He did drop, in my opinion. Dropped him. I'm not sure if it was scored a knockdown on Bud Crawford. The guy can hit extremely hard. And I think that's a great fight. I think it's a really good fight. The Mean Machine. And also right here, Santiago Medio says, I'm happy he wants to fight the best. But even somebody second tier, well, this is controversial, a guy from Philly, like Danny Garcia or Thurman, which I think are excellent fights, because to me, those PBC welterweights, they've already hit their peak, and they're actually headed over the peak and on the decline. One, Danny Garcia wants to move up to 154. He talked about that last week. We don't know how soon he'll move up. Danny Garcia likes challenges. And we know that Thurman, he's been so inactive with all his surgeries, but those guys are former champions. Danny, a 2-division champion. Thurman, a welterweight champion. Those are fantastic fights, too. Do you think he fares better? Virgil fares better with those two guys?
Thurman and both of them, yeah. He fares better with both of them because he can easily hurt Keith Thurman.
And again,
like,
go ahead.
Like he was hurt against Colosso and Pacquiao, even though Pacquiao, is like 42, but he still hurt. He almost stopped Keith Thurman, but Virgil Ortiz can possibly stop Keith Thurman.
Yeah, A-Rod83 Book Sales says, I think Virgil will do better against Crawford and don't think Arrow would be a good choice for him. I'm on the opposite side of the fence, and I would love to hear other people's. If you want to call in 702-710-3627, I would like to know. G-Funky said he'll be calling in a minute. I appreciate that.
I'm going to be honest on this. He won't do better against Crawford because Crawford, like, people are looking at if they're comparing Errol Spence and Terence Crawford on who they fought and everything.
Resumes.
That's how a lot of people are going by fights with this, because the problem is, I think he'll knock out Terence Crawford. No, he won't. He won't knock out Terence Crawford. I don't even think he's going to be able to really, like, it's going to be a good fight as long as it lasts. But the thing is, Terence Crawford is just as good as a boxer as Errol Spence, even probably better. I think he beats Errol Spence. If you look at it at the end of the day, Errol Spence can go dragged into fights with Sean Porter's fight, but that thing was really even until he knocked Porter down. If he didn't knock Sean Porter down, that would probably be on its way to a draw. And then everybody's opinion about Errol Spence will be changing then. And they would be saying, Terence Crawford will beat him. I still think Terence Crawford beats Errol Spence.
That fight seems like, a lot of us were opining, thinking that fight might be made this year. It looks like that fight between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence is not going to be happening this year. It's one of those fights that they're just waiting, over-marinating that fight. And I think that Virgil Ortiz and Philadelphia's Boots Ennis, let me give credit to Boots Ennis, I think that guy's also on a path to being a welterweight champ. And nobody's talking about those two rising superstars fighting each other. Nobody really that I see is circulating the idea of Boots Ennis versus Virgil Ortiz. And also, nobody brings up, you just brought up Sean Porter. Sean Porter fights anyone. Throw Virgil and Ortiz with him. That's a super fight. He's definitely a household name if they want to go that route. But all great names. I'm happy that Virgil Ortiz is going to be listening to his father and maybe taking up another step up fight. That remains to be seen. Let's read this comment. Virgil Sr. has said his son does exceptionally well against southpaws. Virgil might do better against Spence than Bud. Yeah, all right. I like that comment too, man. So there is no consensus even amongst our chat against who they think Virgil will pair up better against, whether it's going to be Bud Crawford or Errol Spence. But Errol Spence is he's a Dallas guy. They're both Texas guys. And I mean, that could really sell well. Once the coronavirus is fully gone, I'm just about sure they could sell out that stadium. Let's read another comment here. El Cotto, I'm going to put this one up here. El Cotto says he's better than Spence, but he doesn't have the grit like Spence or Ortiz. He gets wild and careless when he gets hurt. All right. So, Drew, you're still convinced that Virgil's not ready for Bud Crawford. And do you think he's ready for Errol Spence? If that fight was...
No.
And he's not ready for that one either. But plenty of guys you would like to see him in, including the Mean Machine. And you'd like to see him work on his defense a bit, right?
I hope he can work on his defense, but people are going to say boxing is what you get hit at. But at the same time, if you go... That's if you don't go 12 rounds. But if you go 12 rounds and you get hit a lot and that guy doesn't get hit a lot and he makes you look bad, you're likely losing the decision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm awaiting a call from G Funky. If he does call, the other half of HCP. Are you down with HCP? Drew, there was a fight before the women's fight that had me at the edge of my seat. And it was the fight we were talking about, Lopez versus Lopez, because there's a guy, Marcelino Lopez from Argentina. The guy's built like a tank. And the fight was at 140 pounds. I think he was just over 140 pounds. And they had a replacement fighter, also from Mexico. And Chris Mannix referred to him as Gyro Lopez. Gyro, like the gyro plate, the Greek food, you know what I mean? It's gyro. Mannix always gets something wrong on his podcast, on his broadcast. We're podcasters. He's a professional broadcaster. But he got his name wrong, and Sergio Mora had to correct him. It's Jairo. So, yeah, Jairo was a replacement. My wife said, and she pointed this out, she goes, I haven't seen an Argentinian fighter that good at 140 pounds since Lucas Matisse. And everything that Jairo Lopez threw back, and he put up a valiant effort, despite being dropped X amount of times. He put up one hell of a fight. And I was just about to tweet that if Jairo Lopez can score a knockdown against this animal, Marcelino Lopez, that we could have a fight of the year contender here. Did you look at him? And he was extremely muscular. And I thought, this guy's not going to have fast hands. I mean, most of the time when you see a guy who's overly muscular, the hand speed isn't there. But were you impressed at all by this guy that they found from Argentina, Marcelino Lopez? Or could we be looking at the next Argentinian star, the likes of Lucas Matisse and other great Argentinian fighters?
I don't know yet. Like, I'll tell you the truth. I was just praying for that referee to stop the fight because that dude kept getting knocked down and everything. I'm like, you gotta stop this fight already, man. This dude's not, he ain't getting nowhere with this dude. He ain't hitting him, but he ain't hurting him.
And as somebody pointed out, El Cotto points out that Maidana was from Argentina. Sergio Martinez, though of Spanish descent, came out of Argentina as well. And Andre Rodriguez says, Marcelino is from Aribeños, a crazy boxing small town on the outskirts of Buenos Aires. They are savages in that part of Argentinian. It looked to me like Marcelino Lopez made a huge statement at 140-pound division, a division that is stacked with talent. A lot of them are over at Top Rank, but I can't wait to see this guy fight again. I mean, the list of fighters that I guess I'd love to see him against, like a Regis Prograis, even the guys like Baranchek over at Top Rank, Jose Zepeda from Long Beach. I really want to see if he's top 5 material because, again, although Jairo Lopez was a replacement fighter and put up a hell of a fight, he was outgunned as far as power. He wasn't taking those. He has 11 losses. So a guy with 11 losses and Marcelino Lopez knocking him out, I'm not sure what to think about that. I have to err on the side of caution and say, of course the Mexican guy came to fight, but he's definitely not top 10. He's probably not even ranked top 15. So
he's probably not even top 50.
But again, testament to these great Mexican fighters who pick up that phone and say, I'm in fight shape and I'm ready to go. And he definitely showed up and put on a fight. He wasn't there just to collect a paycheck. That guy, Jairo Lopez, put on a hell of a show. And to me, those 3 fights in a row, man, DAZN just hit a home run that weekend, man, this past weekend. And before we move on to our prediction of the week, which we will get to, Dillian Whyte versus Povetkin 2 cruiserweights. Does anybody care about the cruiserweights? No. The cruiserweight fight earlier in the afternoon. Yeah, we have a brand new cruiserweight champion. Does anybody care about the cruiserweights? Especially now that the WBC is coming out with the Bridger weights.
Man. Crickets.
Crickets. Exactly. Let's move on. Andre Rodriguez. Marcelino has that pedigree, but he looks juiced though. Yeah, the physique was pretty impressive. But again, even despite having that physique, he does have hand speed, man. He can let those hands go. And he hits pretty damn hard for having that muscularity. So that was impressive. So I'm going to ask the chat right now, is Povetkin 2 versus Dillian Whyte? Is Dillian Whyte going to redeem himself this weekend? Jan says, hey, Rod, 83 book sale. Nobody cares about the heavyweights this fight. I know you're big on watching these heavyweights, Drew.
Come on. I want to hear what the chat's going to say.
And anybody is welcome to chat if they think that Dillian Whyte is going to avenge his loss. Drew, let's take this comment from Andre Rodriguez, because someone says, I do care about the cruiserweights, and I was disappointed with Glowacki. Worst of him that I ever saw, but congrats to Oakley. Oakley, I had such a hard time saying, a bright future ahead. Drew, I texted you midday. I was like, did you see that? Did you see? Because Glowacki is a former champion at cruiserweight division, right? So
yeah, it's a former 2-time WBO champion.
Exactly. So it seems like all around Saturday we have a bunch of new stars. So let's take this call.
Okay, we got one White in the chat.
916. This is G Funky.
So wait.
That's right, G Funky Boxing of ACP. What's going on?
Hey, homie. So it was a fantastic weekend, and I'm excited to hear you guys' take tomorrow on HCP. And we were just going to start talking about this Dillian Whyte Povetkin comeback, but hey, the floor is yours. What fight can you not stop talking about today?
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the Virgil Ortiz, Maurice Hooker fight. I thought it was a really good fight, very entertaining. Both guys came to win. Both guys didn't mind to let their hands go, and that's something that apparently fight fans don't like now, I guess. I mean, it's something that, I've always enjoyed, but we hear a lot of fans say things like we don't like guys that are too defensive or guys that are afraid to get hit, guys that are afraid to let their hands go. But we get that on Saturday, and then guess what? We hear complaints about guys in their defense. Like, I'm not understanding what's going on here, man.
You brought up a really good point. Hooker is a Texas native, and I was so disgusted with the booing from the crowd because the fight's taking place in Texas between two Texas warriors, and they're booing his performance as he's being interviewed. That rubbed me the wrong way because Hooker came to win. He didn't have to fight in the style he did in round 5. That went really bad for him in round 5. But, he stepped up and was brave, and he decided to fight Virgil Ortiz's fight in round 5. Everybody wants to know, G Funky, does Virgil Ortiz need another fight or possibly 2 before he fights the kings of the welterweight division?
He absolutely does. And I would have said this if he'd blown Hooker out in 2 rounds. I don't think that those fights are even a possibility, regardless of his performance. He's doing what every young fighter needs to do. that's in his position. You keep those guys' names in your mouth to create a name for yourself. You know, if people want to call it clout chase, call it clout chase. It is what it is. But that's what you're supposed to do, man. You say, yeah, you know what? I want these guys at the top. I'm ready for these guys at the top. We know he's not ready, just like we know Boots is not ready for any of these guys at the top. Those two guys there, Boots and Ortiz, those two guys are going to take over this division in a couple of years, man. And those two guys, I believe, should be put on a collision course for a super fight at 147 pounds. That's what I think the plan should be. Will that be the plan? I hope so. I don't know, though. You just never know. But I don't think that Crawford fight was even in the works or even considered from either side.
I'm 100% in agreement with, and I hope Philly Irish now is going to agree with us too, that Boots Ennis, a Philadelphia fighter who also looks equally impressive as Virgil Ortiz as a future star, should be on a collision course and probably will end up being both welterweight champions. But what does that say, G Funky, about Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, that they can't get that fight to be made? That actually Bud Crawford was there, possibly staking out, or putting in a feeler to see if people want to see him fight Virgil Ortiz. What does that say about Bud Crawford versus Errol Spence? I mean, that's the fight all boxing fans want to see, yes or no?
I think there was a time where majority boxing fans definitely wanted to see that. I got to be honest with you, man. I don't have much interest in it myself anymore. The fight should have happened a long time ago. Really, we should, in a perfect world, we should probably be talking about a rematch or a third fight between these two guys at this point. Not the first fight that still hasn't happened. You know, it's really sad that these guys can't get these two guys in the ring, but I really think that they missed a good opportunity because these guys trying to draw the fight out like Pacquiao and Mayweather did years ago. Mm-hmm. The problem is these guys aren't as big as Mayweather and Pacquiao. You know, I know they might think that they are, but we all know that they aren't. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And they miss a golden opportunity. So that's why I'm putting all my faith in these young guys, Virgil Ortiz and Boots Ennis at 147. These guys are going to save the division, I believe, and I hope that they do. And I can't wait to see Boots in his fight against Lipinets. He's stepping up to the plate just like Ortiz did this Saturday, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm excited about that too. And the fact that they're in such close proximity is, the Virgil Ortiz performance is going to be fresh on our mind. And here we get to see Ennis against a very credible opponent himself. Lipinets, if I'm correct, was a champion at 140 pounds or close to being a champion. So yeah, another fantastic opponent for us to gauge the future. But if not these guys, the big names, for Virgil Ortiz, G-Funky, the list of guys, people are asking Thurman. You think Thurman is a good fight? You think those stars will take a fight with the up-and-coming prospect like Virgil Ortiz?
It's a tough question because I honestly think at this point right now, Thurman's been off for so long. I think if they put him in there with Ortiz next, I think Ortiz beats him. I just got to be honest with you. I think he beats a lot of these guys at the top. I personally don't think he beats Crawford right now. I don't think he beats Spence right now. But I think he has him and Sean Porter, that would be a fantastic fight. But I just don't know, man. I don't have a lot of faith in PBC letting their guys fight anybody outside of PBC. But it's frustrating, man. And another thing that's just frustrating with me is, and I just dropped a video on my channel where I called it, and we have a little saying on HCP where we call it flawless boxing syndrome, or flawless victory syndrome, I should say, where guys are looking for a flawless victory, and that's just not the case. This is the fight game, man. You're in there with a guy whose only job is to punch you in the face or the body. That's his job, and that's what they get paid to do, and that's what they do. So I'm not going to over-exaggerate the fact that he got hit with some shots from Hooker. I mean, Hooker's a good fighter.
A former
Hooker's
champion.
No bum. He's
no bum.
This guy's got long arms. He's got a good jab and a right hand. So I expected him to land shots on Virgil Ortiz. I mean, I don't know who wasn't expecting him to land shots on Virgil. That's what I wanted to see. To be honest with you, I really wanted to see how he was going to take some shots from him. and if he was going to take him. And I thought he took him well, and I thought he did a great job of going to the body, mixing up body head also with the double hooks. And I was impressed by the young kid, man. I didn't see any big major problems with his performance at all, man.
Now, you brought up that flawless fighter syndrome, and it's a great point because the year started off with a bang with the Ryan Garcia fight, which was on DAZN and by the same promoter. Oscar promotes both of those guys, and it wasn't a flawless performance. We saw Ryan Garcia get dropped for the very first time, but then rally back and put on an amazing performance. Is it Floyd Mayweather who created this syndrome, the flawless, like the way Floyd had his victories, that we expect all the fighters now to have these kind of victories, as you say, flawless, without drama?
I believe it's an effect of Floyd Mayweather, and I should say Money Mayweather, because the thing is this, man. We all three of us remember Floyd Mayweather when he was pretty boy and he was fighting down in the lower weight classes. He wasn't as defensive as he was once he got up to the 147s and the 154s. He was willing to let his hands go. And guess what? He got cooked with some shots, too. He's got hurt by guys down there. Chop Corley had him badly hurt in this fight. I believe that fight was at 140 pounds. Mosley had Mayweather almost knocked out on his feet. Zab Judah at 140 had him hurt also. Even the best defensive guys get hit. They get hurt. Whitaker's been dropped. If we could name some of the Cuban boxers that are good on defense, a lot have been dropped a couple times. Rigo's been dropped. These guys are great defensive fighters. And so, I don't know, man. For me, it's no big deal when I see guys get hit because this is what happens. First time I walked into a gym, put gloves on. The trainer told me, look, you don't want to get hit? There's the door. Get out. Because you're going to get hit, man. That's just the nature of the business. So I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I'm glad he took some shots, and I'm glad he was able to take them because I wanted to see if he was able to take shots from a legit fighter,
Yeah, and that, if we're talking like that, I think he passed those tests. He definitely passed that test. I'm still high on Virgil Ortiz. I'm excited for what the future holds for him. He did look great. As Alexis Lopez says in the chat, he looked great. He's a star. He's a star in the making. But, while I have you on the phone, G Funky, this year at HCP, you have interviewed, and I was on one of those podcasts, 2 future stars of the welterweight division that I think if we hold up Virgil Ortiz and Boots Ennis from Philly up here, Xander Zayas and Jesus Ramos Jr. for PBC at 147, they're just a year behind those guys. They're just in development, just a year behind. That crop of fighters right there, those 4 fighters plus whatever new talent is in the wings, I think we're seeing the end of that welterweight era that includes the likes of Sean Porter, Thurman, Danny Garcia, and as well as these guys got to step it up. Man, I'm talking about Bud Crawford and Errol Spence. They got to stop chasing that pay-per-view special that's going to make them uber rich. Because their pay-per-view numbers haven't been impressive. Mm-hmm. They haven't been impressive as they're not Floyd, right, Drew? Are they like Floyd?
No, but the problem is when it comes to Bud or Spence, man, is you got a promoter that won't do anything to get his fighter big fights anymore. He didn't really get him big fights, period, because the biggest fight that he had in his career was Yoriokas Gamboa. But when your own promoter claims he can go bankrupt promoting you, there's a big problem. And he's not willing to make those big fights. And R. Spence, when it comes to him and everything, he's probably never even seen Al Heyman, like most of the other guys that have been promoted by Al Heyman. I don't even know what the hell he looks like. But at the end of the day, the business side of boxing, the boxing politics is a load of BS. And we should all know from the get-go that we're not going to see fights like this in this lower weight classes. We might not even see the big one in the heavyweights because, as people said, Eddie Hearn jumped the gun again, claiming that the fight is official. And then Fury's people said we didn't sign no contract to fight him. So at the end of the day, boxing is just can be a load of BS. and I'm sorry, boxing is just a load of bullshit, in my opinion. I'm not sugarcoating it anymore. It's a load of bullshit, boxing, because people don't want to say they're gonna fight them, and then later on, some contract bullshit comes up and says, "Oh, this fight's not gonna happen." Now, Terrence Crawford said that the fight's not gonna happen. Who can you thank for that? Can you thank Bob Allen because he refused to make an effort in trying to fight Errol Spence? Or you can thank him because Bob Allen wants to still help Pacquiao out, even though Pacquiao is at a rival promoter in PBC now. Just as long as he succeeds in everything, I'm going to give him Terrence Crawford. Even if Terrence Crawford might beat him. But this is the downside of boxing. This is the side of boxing that people said for years the reason why boxing was a dying sport and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting back, and it could get back to that anytime because guys don't want to make big fights, or guys are afraid their O's gonna go, or guys want to have a resume of fighting C-level or D-level fighters their whole career, become 41-0 when they go up to an A-class fighter, the dude gets his ass kicked. And then he bitches about it because he doesn't learn from his loss.
Santiago Media says, Who cares if we don't see or know what he looks like? He's referring to Al Heyman. He's giving us big prize fights for free on Fox. And that's why, G Funky, I was that kid that we had, Jesus Ramos Jr., who's now a welterweight. He's also 16-0 with 16 knockouts, and he's already had primetime fights on Fox, and they continue to use that to push him. With 16-0, 16 knockouts, I mean, record-wise, he's pretty close to Virgil Ortiz. There's a race to make the next welterweight champion a household name. I'm excited about it. As Drew steps away, let's do something fun, G-Funky, if you still got a minute. No mames, wait, what is the worst story you've heard in boxing today? Is it Gervonta Davis being arrested with 14 counts for a hit and run? Or is it Julio Cesar Chavez is fighting a UFC fighter on the undercard of his father's exhibition? I'm talking about Anderson Silva. No mames, wait, what is the funnier story?
It's hard to pick. It's hard to pick something over Chavez Jr. because honestly, I don't like the kid. Never have, never will. But I'm going to have to say Tank Davis, man. And it's only because, I was actually a really big believer in Tank at the beginning of his career. And he's let me down with a lot of things, missing weight or, struggling to make weight and then having bad performances. And then now he's getting in trouble with the law. He's already had trouble with the law where I think he had a domestic violence thing or something. So that's very disappointing because at least Tank, we've seen the potential with him. For me, Chavez Jr. was always overrated. He's always a weight bully, and I never had any real faith in him at all. If he's fighting Anderson Silva, which I think it's been rumored to, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I hope Anderson Silva whoops him, man. I really do. I don't have any faith in Chavez Jr. He might just quit again like he always quits in all his big fights. I have to say Tank Davis, man. It's been more disappointing to see that happen,
So, Drew, you're shaking your head. I just asked G Funky which was the funnier story. And there's nothing funny about hit and run, but I did bring up the fact that Gervonta Davis was arrested with 14 counts and that Chavez Jr. will be fighting again, but this time he's fighting a legend in MMA, Anderson Silva, the what was his nickname? The Spider, Anderson the Spider Silva, one of the best strikers in UFC. But do you even think Chavez Jr. has a chance against a UFC legend like that?
I'm not gonna waste my breath in mentioning him.
I like it. So,
and I'm gonna be honest with Tank Davis. That's what happens when you hang around Floyd Mayweather all the time.
Or Adrian Broner.
You picked up some of his habits.
Or Adrian Broner.
You pick up their habits. You pick up beating your girlfriend habits. You pick up hitting one BS and everything. You know what, man? Who cares? Tank Davis was going to get his ass kicked eventually anyway. So let it be outside the ring in jail or something, because he was eventually getting his ass kicked by somebody in boxing.
Tank Davis had possibly knockout of the year in a sensational performance against Leo Santa Cruz. He goes from having potential knockout of the year to, we find out, being in trouble with the law. Again, it's a pattern I don't like seeing, and it's a pattern that, to me, when you have good kids like Teofimo Lopez sitting at the top of the 135-pound division, it's just a detriment. It's a detriment to him. I mean, he's making himself the bad guy. He's making himself the heel. If we ever get to that fight against Teofimo Lopez and Tank Davis, how could you even root for a guy that chokes his baby mama? And he did that in Miami on camera. Yeah. He choked her. I mean, it's like on film. He's got that case going too. So Tank Davis news sucks.
Yeah.
Let's move on from that.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
I can't believe any woman would date a guy as short as Tank Davis is.
Because he's a good dancer. G-Funk.
He's a midget compared to some.
G-Funk, he's showing us that video. He's a lot better dancer than Chavez. One thing those two guys have in common are these TikTok dancing video. One in heels and the other one, with a two-step. But
yeah.
We want you know the prediction.
He's a good dancer. Probably got a cool car.
Yeah.
But hey,
right.
guys, I'm gonna roll out, man.
Appreciate it, G-Funky.
I want to say this before I leave, man. Before I go, though, real quick, I want to say I picked Povetkin to beat Dillian White the first time. I'm picking him again, man. I don't think Dillian White is that good. I'm going to go with the gold medals. I just think he's just more skilled. I think he's just a better fighter. I don't care how old he is, whatever. I'm rolling with Povetkin this weekend, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Hey, G-Funky, thanks a lot.
Smash the like button, everybody that's watching.
I appreciate it, and you bringing everyone over here.
Later,
HCP, Leave It in the Ring Radio Network. People say they're done with Gervonta Davis news, so he said it. And you guys have been on the same page about a couple of big fights, or maybe more than a couple of big fights. I'm talking about, you guys both predicted Valdez with the upset win there. So let's hear from you, Drew. Will Povetkin win again?
I picked the exact round Povetkin was going to knock Dillian White in last time.
I don't remember that, but that is the beauty of doing these shows, that they're archived and we can go back and run the tape.
And I'm gonna predict the round, and I'm gonna predict the round this ends in again, because this is going to 12 rounds.
All right.
So last fight, the first fight, I picked Povetkin to knock Dillian White out in 5 rounds. This time, I'm also picking Povetkin again to knock out Dillian White in round number 8.
Number 8. Dillian White will go a few more rounds. That will be the only difference.
That'll be the only difference. He goes 8 rounds with Povetkin, and Povetkin cashes him with a punch he doesn't see coming again.
Very interesting. Now, I had it all wrong because I thought Povetkin was over the hill. But one thing about heavyweights is that we see them fight well into their 40s. I mean, we've had champions heavyweight division well into their 40s. I guess Povetkin's not done, because I'm going to agree with you on this one. Povetkin is absolutely going to win, and probably by knockout, but I don't know what round. But I'm going to agree for you on once. The safe bet, Povetkin is a plus 250, says 92 Aku. Thank you for putting that up and letting us know what the odds are. I'm going to agree with you, but here's something I'm speculating on. Chris Arreola is going to be fighting April 24th. April 24th is going to be a sensational night of boxing. If Povetkin wins again by knockout, could we see 2 fighters, Povetkin and not Arreola, but the former champ, the other guy? Could we see a fight between Povetkin?
No, because I believe whoever wins this fight is automatically going to get put into a title eliminator with Deontay Wilder.
All right. And why his name is escaping me right now, it just goes to testament that it's pretty late.
And I'll be honest with you, Deontay Wilder and Alexander Povetkin were supposed to fight 5 years ago in Moscow when Deontay Wilder first won the WBC title. That fight didn't happen the night of the fight because Povetkin tested positive for steroids the night of the fight. So Deontay Wilder got back on a plane to go back to the United States, and he fought a sub-in and knocked him out, Povetkin. But here's the thing. if he didn't test positive, we probably won't be talking about Deontay Wilder because I predicted that fight, and I thought Alexander Povetkin would have knocked out Deontay Wilder in Moscow 5 years ago because he was untested and he was hurt before by lesser competition, Deontay Wilder. So,
A shout out to 92 Aku Bomb Squad. You know what? Hello to all the Bomb Squad people. I used to be down with the Bomb Squad. I'd like to see Deontay Wilder back on his feet. He's still in the boxing gossip day and night, and that's interesting. I'm glad you bring that up. That this is a title eliminator, and we'll see if Deontay Wilder gets a shot, an opportunity again to wrong his right. With whatever happened with that contract with Tyson Fury. Joshua is dominating the news headline. It should be a really good weekend for boxing. So, to everyone who joined us tonight, I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to the Shoeshine, please do, because we will no longer be on other media platforms like Periscope on Twitter. That one is being done away with. So, hit the subscribe and notifications if you don't mind, or share it on your social media. I appreciate it. Leave It in the Ring Radio Network appreciates it. The download for this show will be on rotation sometime later in the week. And if you're watching us live right now on YouTube, don't forget to check out D Styles and G Funky tomorrow night on HCP. I'm Dave from the 408. Drew, your final thoughts?
What are these things? Screw it. Like, people, I had a debate with somebody today when it came to Fury and Wilder and everything. And dudes claim Wilder deserves the rematch. And I said, do you really want to see a third match with these two? Yeah. People, I don't want to see it. Like, to be honest, Deontay Wilder is a fighter that could not accept his first loss, that he was exposed. And instead of learning from his loss, he bitched and made excuses about it. So at the end of the day, there's no, if you're talking about glove gate and everything, come on now. People, it's rare that you go undefeated in boxing throughout your whole career. And the way you fought, you were eventually going to get exposed.
Drew, we got one last call. I was about to wrap up the show, but you know what? I'll take this call because the phone line's working. 509, you are on the Shoeshine. 509, you are on the Shoeshine.
Yo, can you hear me now?
Yeah, what's up, homie?
Hello?
Who are we talking to?
Yeah, this is 92. Is it 92 from the chat?
Hey, what's up, 92 Aku? Yeah, we were just trying to wrap up the show, but we're talking about the heavyweight fight or anything was on your mind?
Yeah, Wilder, Bomb Squad.
Yeah. Are you happy with all the news circulating?
No, about the Tank Davis, that sucked. That was disappointing because he's like one of the biggest stars in boxing, or could be he could be a superstar, and he's like a top 10 star in boxing right now. So that sucks that we're not gonna. He might go to jail, basically.
Yeah. And on the Deontay Wilder news, did you have a comment on that?
Oh yeah. You guys are saying that. You guys aren't fans of Wilder anymore, or something like that.
No, I still appreciate him. I'm actually looking forward to him, a story of redemption with Wilder. You know what I mean? I think it makes the heavyweight division interesting, and drama. The drama is just part of the heavyweight division. So I am personally looking forward to Wilder's trying to redeem himself. Maybe not my co-host Drew Eva though.
It's not that I don't like Wilder. It's that I lost respect for him because I was a fan. I'm a fan of his, but I lost respect for him because he did nothing but bitch about his loss. Like Anthony Joshua, when he got knocked out in New York City, you know what? He couldn't bitch, but you know what he did? He said, no, this is Andy night. He was a class act that night. He accepted his loss. He accepted he took his ass whooping. He took his ass whooping like a man, moved on and learned from it and won the fight. This dude did not learn from it. He's bitching, but not learning from his fight. And people don't realize you don't always go undefeated in your boxing career. Somebody's going to find a way to beat you. Him, it was easy because the dude cannot box. He only has a right hand. That's all he had. And people finally Fury exposed it. Luis Ortiz exposed it. So eventually, he was going to get beaten. And when he got beaten, he was going to get beaten bad.
All facts. I can't disagree with nothing you said. Wilder, yeah, but I want to see him, at least in another big fight. Yeah, his excuses were legendary lame. And, but I mean, I want to see. I like when I like big fights, and he's definitely like a top 3, top 4 heavyweight.
So since you're also you're vocally a fan of Bomb Squad, would a fight against Andy Ruiz and where he was successful and decisively beating Andy Ruiz, would that put you back in the fan column for either of you, Drew or 92 Aku?
Hell yeah. I'm always gonna be go ahead.
No, go ahead, man. You go finish.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm always going to be a fan of Wilder because what he's done, like I'm going to be a fan of what he did, like all those knockouts and sending all those people to hell. I can't forget that, but him versus Andrew Ruiz to be a good fight, and Ruiz is arguably a top 5, top 4 heavyweight, so he'll be right back. He'll jump right back under, back in the title contention.
Right. Absolutely. Hey, 92 Aku, I appreciate you being in the chat and being a loyal family member of the Leave It in the Ring radio network. We're just going to wrap up this show, and I appreciate you if you want to hit follow. And it was nice talking to you tonight, buddy. Thank you.
Hell yeah. Same here, man. Thanks for having me. Shout out 408.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, 92 Aku.
I'm gonna add one more thing to what I said before we get out of here.
Go ahead.
If people look at it, Andy Ruiz would be a big win for Deontay Wilder because it's actually as a former champion, undisputed champion, that beat a top fighter. And that's not from the level of his resume, because people can say I'm a hater or I want on Deontay Wilder, but if I tell you that he made a career of fighting lower upper C level to lower D level fighters, it's just facts. Just look at all the fighters on his list, and you can see what I'm talking about. Like Severn, if you want to be honest, he did what he had to do. Severn, he did the right thing in the first fight in how he fought him because he had a big height advantage and a big reach advantage. He utilized his reach advantage. That is something he had that I want to see him be thinking more, not trying to just load up that right hand, to lose the box more, to use the jab to set the right hand up or to set a left hand up. And until Wilder improves, and it's a shame because I blame his coaches on this too, because I think all his coaches do is riding the wave until that wave goes sour, until it goes down, until it gets broken and everything. And when it gets broken, they don't give a flying fuck about it afterwards. And it's a goddamn shame because nobody even taught that dude how to be better at boxing.
Well, if you read some of the stories out there and believe in these sources, they say that he's someone that he's untrainable, that you can't even show him basic instructions because he dances to the beat of his own drum. Deontay Wilder's going to do what he wants to do. But Drew, I am a fan of people having an opportunity to redeem themselves. I love a great redemption story, and I'm sure we will continue to talk about the heavyweight division this year. It starts next weekend. We get to see Povetkin, 40-something years old, see if he can do it again, put himself in the top 5 competition, top 5 names circulating again. He'll make a tough fight for anybody out there. I'm Dave from the 408 of the Shoeshine. Leave It in the Ring Radio Network. Thank you guys so much. Thanks, Drew, for joining me tonight. And I wish everybody a great week. And we'll see you again next Monday night on the Shoeshine. Peace.